Hello everyone, this is Özge Çakır. Welcome to my weekly podcasts. For the first episode, I picked a hot topic for us and we will be talking about the recent general elections in Israel. So I have read an article recently published on the British newspaper The Guardian about the rerun of general elections in Israel a week ago. As cited in the article, Palestine's Prime Minister Mohammed Shtayyeh said the difference between the two biggest party leaders, Benjamin Netanyahu and the former military general Benny Gantz, was as insignificant as that between Pepsi and Coke. Benjamin Netanyahu, the current Prime Minister of Israel, was running for his fifth term in the office. Nowadays, however, there is the question as to whether Netanyahu is losing his power, his magic. Coalition governments are anything but new to Israel. No single political party has ever won a majority of seats in the parliament, also known as Knesset, and there have been always coalition governments in the country. So it isn't always the leader of the political party with the most of the votes who gets to rule. Instead, the one who manages to bring enough parties together to secure at least 61 seats in the Israeli parliament gets to rule the country. There are 120 seats in the parliament in total, and Netanyahu himself is the one who set the bar at 61 seats for the sake of a block of right-wing and ultra-Orthodox parties that he had the power to control. He had it at least up until today. Some polls before the Israeli elections even suggested that Netanyahu was more likely to be able to form a coalition than his strongest rival Benny Gantz because of his close relations with other right-wing and other religious political parties in the parliament. Gantz is new in politics, yes, but he is well known for being the former chief of the staff in Israel military. He is well known by the public. He formed the Blue and White Alliance in February with two other former Israeli Defense Forces chief of staff and with the leader of the centrist Yesh Atid party, Yair Lapid. Lapid is a TV personality, turned out to be a politician and gained his share in the rerun of elections as he took part in Blue and White Alliance of Gantz. While some people didn't think that it might actually happen, there it is, it happened, but we are familiar with such figures becoming an important part of world politics before anyone notices, and Lapid seems to be one example from Israel. When the general elections took place in April 2019, Anshel Pfeffer from Israel's Haaretz newspaper, who has written a biography of the current Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, commented saying that it's a comfortable win for Bibi referring to Netanyahu. There is a very large number of Israelis who believe he is most suited to be Prime Minister and ensure security despite the allegations of corruption against him. But after the rerun of general elections in Israel on the 17th of September, the same author wrote, exit polls prove Netanyahu's spell has been broken, and he even added, it was Netanyahu who dragged Israel into an unnecessary second election in the year of 2019. Israelis votes doubled down on their verdict of the last election and denied him victory. So that is how quickly the attitude of voters in Israel have changed, affected by, of course, the fraud and corruption cases against Netanyahu. So one cannot help but wonder what repeating the elections seriously meaning. Was it about getting Israel out of the political deadlock that it faced, or was it about Netanyahu proving himself to be the most suited candidate to become the leader of Israel once again? People in Israel voted for the second time in a short period of time, 5 months, despite the expectations of voter fatigue and low turnout. Last week, actually, more people went to the polls than in April. There was a 0.9% increase in September, reaching to the point 69.4%, compared to the rate 68.5% in April. At this point, another question can be raised. Does the higher rate in April mark any improvement for democracy in Israel? One thing is for sure, Netanyahu's dragging Israel into having another election in such a short period of time, which the country didn't experience before, seems to have been backfired. Netanyahu's so-called magic is all about being the one and only leader to rule Israel for such a long term and keeping his right-wing party Likud in power thanks to the strategic alliances he made with the other religious, right-wing and even ultra-Orthodox parties in the parliament. Now there is this guy, the new actor in politics, Benny Gantz, the former chief of staff in Israeli army, to challenge his position, his strong position. Now what Netanyahu faces also is a united group of Arab parties under the joint list, whose members, by the way, entered into the elections together for the first time since 1992, and they have issued an endorsement for the first time with the desire to take Netanyahu out of the office, away from holding the power. Netanyahu also faces the charges of bribery, fraud and breach of trust that he denies since day one and labels them as witch hunt before the elections in April. Therefore, his damaged public image didn't help him much in bringing the victory that he hoped with the running again elections in September. Although the Blue and White Alliance located itself in the center and not in far right, the fact that the alliance secured a few more seats in the parliament is not a victory for the center-left or for the peace camp in Israel. Not at all. The results actually rather reveal that Benny Gantz won a personal victory over Benjamin Netanyahu. To understand it even better, we can look at the words of Ayman Odeh, who is the leader of the Arab grouping Joint List. He underlines that they do not approve Mr. Gantz's policies in any way, but they wish to have Netanyahu out of the office, and they wish to send him a clear message that Israel's future must include the full and equal participation of its Palestinian citizens. As mentioned above, although the Blue and White Alliance that Gantz leads located itself in the center and Gantz defines himself as a centrist, his ideology differs actually very little from Netanyahu's. During the election campaigns run fiercely by both leaders, Gantz even accused the current prime minister of stealing his policy when Netanyahu pledged to annex up to 1/3 of the occupied region of West Bank. The Guardian's correspondents wrote about their experiences in the occupied West Bank and Gaza, which is isolated and ruled by Hamas. The words of Mahmoud Ayad, a student at the age of 22, makes it even clearer as to why there is no difference in the eyes of Palestinians between the two strongest rivals in Israel that can gain the political power and lead the country. Ayad says, when there was a war against Gaza in 2014, it was under the Netanyahu government and Benny Gantz was the head of the army. They practiced all forms of killing and destruction against Palestinian people. I don't think there is any difference between them. In the occupied West Bank, more than 2.5 million Palestinians live under the control of Israeli military for years. The blockage in Gaza Strip keeps making it harder to live for more than 2 million Palestinians. Both Netanyahu and Gantz promised to take permanent control over the so-called debated parts in quotation mark of the region, which means actually the large part of the Palestinian territory. So more than being seriously threatening for the Palestinians, such a step would be actually the final end for all the hope to secure its statehood in the fragmented region of Middle East. Thanks for listening to me. This is the end of the very first episode of my weekly podcasts. We will be talking about a lot of things, not only politics, also arts and culture, don't worry. If you liked what you've just listened to and want to read about it, you can check the link below and see the article for yourselves. I'm also open to your suggestions about the topics to talk. Hope to meet you next week. Until then, take care and be good to yourselves.